Over the last 6 years, we've seen a lot of inflation hitting different sectors at different moments between food, steel, or whatever have you, housing market, whatever you want to call it, right? There's been subtle increases here and there, and some not so subtle increases in sectors because of inflation. But what's been really on my mind for a while is why haven't booster boxes gone up too much at all, right? I mean, for the last 6 years, the booster box price of 100 or less has always been a thing. Think of a booster box, and there's a word called price memory, price perception of the consumer. Of our tiny little brains can't handle numbers that go too large or too small versus what we're used to, and we think that, okay, if I'm buying a booster box, it's got to be 60, 70, $80, right? It can't go over 100. That's crazy. There is that price perception theory of the reason why box prices haven't gone up as much on release, MSRP for the big three companies, right? Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, MTG. And I'm talking about the base set, not any collector's bundle or whatever. I'm talking a base set booster. You think about it right now, it's around the 80, 90, 100, but not over 100. There is that price memory that we have. But I think about it often because as prices have gone up over the last 6 years, it has got to be insanely difficult for the little guy to survive. Like, if you couldn't survive in 2017, 2018, how the fuck are you going to survive now in 2025 with the cost of goods and production and labor and everything going up? And you're trying to print a new card game. How are you going to compete when you have the big three out there, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, who are like over $100 million entities, right? How are you gonna actually compete with them when you're a little dinky company? And it really makes me wonder, is the $100 price point really a consumer thing? Is it really an us thing? Or is it the big three thing? And my whole thought process now is this concept of barriers to entry, right? You talk about barriers to entry in any industry. It basically means that you have these big hurdles as a new person in an industry to jump over in order to compete. And I think in the TCG space, it's, hey, how do you make a booster box that's less than $100? Now, I know you might say, Bronson, there's this TCG that doesn't do that. There's this TCG. There's none that have gotten even close to big three in market share. So that's what I'm talking about, right? And I feel like there is this feeling of people wanting booster boxes 100 or less, and it's really stayed that way. It's like the video game industry. For the longest time, it was like the $60 video game and whatever, and that one differs a little bit. But I really think that these big entities are very well aware that they could increase the prices of their product, but they're choosing not to because they want the consumers out there to think that, okay, this is the most affordable and the most premium product on the market. I'm going to buy from them. They have a good thing. And they know that what they're doing is essentially printing money. It is literally ink on paper in a box to a person. That's it. It's not like you're constructing some sort of mechanism like tape, or you're like making one of these energy banks where you have to source all the materials and put it in all this right order in order to make some really useful goods or services, or a monitor or a keyboard or whatever have you. They're literally printing ink onto cardboard and putting in a box and giving it to you. And that is money printing, my friends. And when you're in that position, you don't want other people to compete with you and take away your printing privilege and not making as much money. So how do you do that? Well, you maintain a really cheap product on the market, or what people have their price memory at, right? You make it so you don't increase that beyond 100 because then those people will get upset. And upset people are not good for your money printer. So you're going to keep it sub 100, which is going to keep a lot of other people, a lot of big entities out there, venture capitalists and what have you, who could try to get into your industry, walk away. They're like, nope, margins are shit, not going in there. And, I can't compete with $100 booster box. It keeps a lot of people out, and it makes your money printer still valuable. And I think that if I can go on to Flesh and Blood, because this is a Flesh and Blood channel, obviously. Now, it is. But Flesh and Blood, Legend Story Studios, have been trying to increase their prices on their booster boxes over the last 5 years. They put out a product sheet on each of their new products. So I think we're up to the 15th set. So every set has a product sheet. On there has the MSRP. And if you've noticed, if you've been a key observer, you've seen that the price has increased a little bit. Most recently, it's increased, I think, a little bit over $8 from the last set to this set in 2025. This was one of the bigger price hikes, if I imagined correctly, if I'm remembering correctly. And I believe we're at like, 110, 115, or 119 per box, MSRP, if you will. So you can see that Legend Story Studios is actively trying to increase the price perception onto the consumer. And what I like about it is you do it over time. You do subtle changes over time. If you do it all at once, if you rip that Band-Aid off, the person's going to be like, ow, what the heck are you doing to me? But if you do it slowly over time, people won't realize it as much. Especially because me saying this, that Legend Story Studios has been doing this, I bet a lot of you out there didn't even realize that they were subtly increasing it over time, right? They have been, and I think they're doing it very intentionally because they want to be a driver in the industry to raise that box price perception up to the active consumer. And inflation is a thing, man. It happened, and for some reason, a lot of these companies out there, the big three, they didn't adjust. And you'd think that these greedy sons of bitches would be like, what the? We can increase our box price and blame it on inflation? And just say, hey, everything costs more, guys. Well, what can I say? And line our pockets with the cash? But they chose not to? What's going on here? And the big answer that in my opinion, I think it's barriers to entry. They know that right now they have a really damn good money printer type of scheme going on, so they don't want to rock the boat. They have their cheap ass product, and then they also sell really premium products for the people and get much higher margins. But you don't cut off the cheap product. And I think even Magic was going to some like really cheapo depot product. It was like a $2 pack off the shelf that had like one rare or something in it. They know that they need to be like that in order to provide a premium product at a cheap price to weed out any type of venture capital, other like competitors in the market. You need to put up that fence of a barrier to entry. That's my opinion. And it was interesting because, the first thought experience I have, it's obviously price perception. Customers don't want to pay that. They're unwilling. But then I thought it doesn't make sense. That's just too easy of an example. Or too easy of just a reason. And I really do think it's the barriers of entry. And I really like what Legend Story Studios is doing. They need to increase it over time. I mean, inflation has gone up drastically over the last 6 years. Purchasing power that you've noticed in your life for various different things, various different products and services have gone up, right? And there's a lot of companies out there that what I just talked about, they looked at this whole excuse of inflation to jack up the prices and make a killing. There's a lot of food chains, fast food in particular. What the hell is up with fast food? They've definitely been very naughty executives up at the top there, making a lot of money because they're just blaming, it's inflation, up the ante, right? So it really does make you think, is that is this going to perpetuate, or are we ever going to break $100 for a booster box? Is someone new in these companies going to break the mold and increase the base price for their cheapest product up, to $120 or so, to think they're making more, but they don't realize that they're tearing down the barrier? Who knows? But just my thoughts. I'd love to hear any comments down below of what you think. And basically, the question is, why hasn't the base price for a new product of the big three really broken too much over 100? And I didn't do any research for this video, so I could be wrong on that. You can let me know. But that's just what my thought process is. And if they're like a little bit over 100, it's like, well, they probably could be increasing their prices, but they don't want to because they're trying to weed out competitors. Yeah.